I'd say JD is an appropriate name since this week's political figure episode makes me want to drink a whole lot of Old Number 7. Guys, I am fucking tired. Like, where do they find these things? Assuming you've gathered that this week's political figure episode is about JD Vance. You know, the guy that looks like the You Betcha guy, except if you put him in a suit and made him way less fun at parties. And is also now Trump's VP pick for some reason. James Donald Bowman was born August 2nd, 1984 in Middletown, Ohio, which sadly makes him a millennial, and as a member of the millennial delegation, I want to let you guys know this was not the dude we selected for our very first VP pick. He wasn't even on the short list. Hell, he wasn't on the long list. He was on no list. He probably should be on some list, but he wasn't on our list. Anyway, he grew up in poverty to drug-addicted parents because it's, you know, Ohio. And then his mom's third husband adopted him, and he changed his name to James David Hamill. But he was mostly raised by his grandparents, James and Bonnie Vance, and then when he turned 30, he decided to change his last name to their last name. Dude's had more name changes than a local credit union. After high school, he joined the Marines and was deployed as a combat correspondent, like Joker from Full Metal Jacket, except lame. After the Marines, he went to Ohio State University and got a degree in political science before going on to, wait for it, Yale Law School, where apparently they specialize in turning people into insufferable pieces of shit. We really just need to shut that whole school down until we figure out what is going on over there, because whatever it is not good. After law school, he worked for Texas Senator John Cornyn, did some clerking, and then went on to be a corporate lawyer for Sidley Austin. They're a law firm that lobbied for Purdue Pharma. But hey, if that wasn't bad enough, after that, he went to San Francisco to work as a venture capitalist, you know, really getting his money worth out of that soul he sold. It was around this time that he decided that exploiting the impoverished communities he came from as a corporate lawyer and venture capitalist wasn't enough, and he needed to exploit them directly with their story as well. So he wrote a book called Hillbilly Elegy. Because, you know, if you're going to write a book to exploit the stories of the communities you turned your back on for personal gain, why not add a little bit of insult to injury by putting a word in the title that their public school system doesn't have the budget to teach them? Anyway, the book was about the Appalachian community's struggle with poverty and opioid addiction. Did I mention he was currently working as a venture capitalist after leaving his job at the law firm that lobbied for the company that makes Oxycontin? He then moved back to Ohio and started a nonprofit to help with addiction problems in Ohio, and then he didn't do that. He did, however, hire an addiction specialist for his nonprofit. They did happen to have ties to Purdue Pharma, and that person did happen to cite Purdue's own research in downplaying the role of painkillers in the opioid epidemic. But it doesn't matter because the nonprofit didn't actually do anything in regards to addiction at all. They had zero accomplishments. The nonprofit really just seemed to exist to allow him to conduct opinion polling and create connections for his senatorial aspirations. And then in 2022, he ran for Senate and won, despite having basically no qualifications or previous experience in government at all. He's only been senator for like a year and objectively the most useless Congress in history, so he has so far accomplished nothing. The Trump administration was like, those are the types of qualifications we like to see. And they hired him as Trump's running mate, which is interesting because he has literally compared Donald Trump to Adolf not that long ago. Sorry guys, when they say what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas, apparently they weren't referring to cold viruses, and I'm losing my voice a little bit here, so bear with me, I'm doing my best. But yeah, Vance was a never-Trumper turned Trump-humper because Vance will believe whatever the highest bidder tells him to believe. Which is why he blames Mexicans for the opioid epidemic. Because, you know, that's what Purdue Pharma paid him to believe. Even though it's pretty obvious, I think, that the maker of Oxycontin probably had a bigger hand in the opioid epidemic than Jose. Anyway, this motherfucker is basically the Project 2025 poster child. Makes Mike Johnson look a little tame. Like he's part of this dark enlightenment movement. I had to look it up, but it's fascism, basically. Not basically, it is literally just fascism with a fancy title. The whole core principle is that participatory democracy, you know, that whole part where we get to like vote for the people who represent us, that's bad, like the worst thing ever. And no one should be allowed to vote, and we need to go back to an absolute monarchy, you know, king shit. The specific king shit we 1776'd over. Like saying we should go back to a literal monarchy has got to be the most anti-American shit I've ever heard in my life. JD Vance subscribed me to a theory that the United States should be a monarchy would make Benedict Arnold look like Mel Gibson on the cover of The Patriot. That is some treason shit, and the man is a U.S. Senator and Donald Trump's pick for vice president. He hates immigrants, like a lot, you know, he wants the wall, he blames immigrants for low wages instead of, you know, the venture capitalists and corporate lawyers that he's worked for. He hates hates Ukraine and doesn't want us sending any money to them, but he loves Israel and says we're not sending enough money to them. He's like, it's great that they're blowing up all the women and children and whatnot, but they're not doing it fast enough. We should be sending them more blowy-uppy stuff to blow them up faster. Paraphrasing a little bit, but that was basically what he said. Oh, we were depriving them of precision-guided missiles, and this was dragging things out. You know, the precision-guided missiles they blew up a World Central Kitchen truck with, those types of precision-guided missiles. After Iran attacked U.S. troops and Trump did nothing to respond, J.D. Vance said that was the right move because an escalation with Iran would be dangerous. And then when Trump blew up an Iranian general, he was like, yeah, Trump did the right thing because, you know, if you're gonna strike Iran, you should do it hard. Like I said, he believes what he's paid to believe. Goes without saying he hates the LGBTQ community. He introduced a bill to make gender-affirming care a felony. Despite saying he had no interest in going after gay marriage, he voted against the Respect for Marriage Act. It's all the one man, one woman bullshit, unless, of course, you know, you're Trump, and then it's one man and one woman until a younger one comes along. He doesn't believe in climate change, and he wants to repeal electric car tax credits and give gas cars tax credits for some reason. He did say he supports labor unions, and then the AFL-CIO looked at his voting record and gave him a 0% based on that. He did show up to a UAW picket line once. It was probably just to calculate what size catapult you would need to launch scabs over the picket line, but, you know, it's the thought that counts. But for everything he hates, you know, gays and immigrants and democracy, it seems the thing he absolutely hates the most is women. He, like, really loathes women. He takes, like, the normal conservative hatred of women, and he's like, guys, that's some rookie hate. You need to pump that hate up. He has blamed literally everything on women not getting married and having children. He has said that the childless left lacks physical commitment to the future of their country, and praised Viktor Orban, you know, the dictator, for his belief that people without kids shouldn't get a say in democracy. He's taking pointers from a dictator on how a democracy should be structured. Then again, he literally wants a monarchy, so. He said that one of the great tricks of the sexual revolution was telling people that it was okay to leave violent, unhappy marriages. He once posted that if your worldview says it's bad for a woman to be a mother but liberating for her to work 90 hours a week in a cubicle, you've been had. So goddamn close to getting the point and still miss it by so fucking much. No one is saying it's bad for a woman to be a mother, except for whichever woman thought it was a good idea to procreate with J.D. Vance. People are saying it's liberating for a woman to have independent financial freedom that she gets from a career. No one should have to work 90 hours a week to have that financial freedom. And if people didn't have to work 90 goddamn hours a week to barely get by, they might have a little bit more interest in, you know, being a fucking parent. But it should come as no surprise that he's very much anti-women's health care and allowing them to have the ability to make their own decisions. He supported and doubled down on abortion bans with no exceptions for, you know, assault and incest, saying, quote, two wrongs don't make a right. When Ohio was trying to ban abortion, he said he believed it was a states' rights issue, but then he said he would support a nationwide abortion ban because he only supports states' rights if the states are doing what he wants them to do. Anyway, Vance has no real qualifications to be a senator, let alone vice president. He's got the personality of a graphing calculator and the ethical, moral, and ideological consistency of what's going to end up in the toilet after a night of binge drinking and spending $75 at Taco Bell. Now, there's a very good chance that this man could be president because, you know, Trump is very old. He also, you know, lives off of McDonald's and Adderall. And he also has a Secret Service team that seems very tired of being his Secret Service team and is phoning it in a tad. I believe that J.D. Vance would be a scarier president than Donald Trump, in part because he's got an IQ that is, you know, higher than the temperature of your freezer. And he's also very clearly willing to do the bidding of whoever the highest bidder is. In case you forgot, the dude literally thinks that we should have, you know, a king, like an actual king. All I'm saying is this November, you know, make good choices, and anything to do with J.D. Vance is not a good choice.